Welcome to a new season of the Chris Thompson Show on our new home here on K-Texas.
Yeah, it's a new season for ACU football. It starts tonight, ACU against Washburn Ichabods. We'll give you the heads up on that game and preview the entire 2010 season. The Chris Thompson Show is now. Welcome to the season debut of the Chris Thompson Show. Grant Boone along with senior broadcast journalism major Brandon Tripp and ACU head football coach Chris Thompson. It's a new season and a new home for the Chris Thompson Show on K-Texas this year. Glad to have K-Texas aboard, and also I know many of you are watching online as you did last year at acuoptimist.com. The 92nd season of ACU football begins tonight, 6 p.m. against Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. Coach, a journey begins today here in the last weekend of summer that you hope continues through the fall and deep into December with a 5th straight trip to the NCAA playoffs. As you begin this season, what do you expect from the 2010 campaign, and maybe have those expectations changed since you first arrived here back in 2005?
Well, you know, the expectation now is to be do what you just talked about, a 5th straight trip to the playoffs. We expect, and our goal is to win a conference championship and to keep progressing towards learning how to win a national championship. We feel like we've made those strides in the last 4 years and learning what that takes, and we want to continue to set a goal to do that and reach that ultimate destination in Florence, Alabama at some point. And real excited about the potential of this team and what I think they can do. And so, you know, 5 years ago when we started it, those weren't the goals, and those weren't what we even thought about. We're just trying to get the program to that point. So it's changed significantly, and most importantly, it's changed in the players' minds, and we're excited about that.
Coach, talk a little bit about a lot of the progress that you've seen through spring training camp and through the summer training camp. Just to kind of talk about some of the progress you've seen in your team.
Well, you know, we've got almost every player back. We didn't lose that many players off last year's team. You lose a Tony Hart, very, very significant player in the program's history, and but as a whole, most of those guys are back. So the defense, who was very dominant at times last year, most of those guys returned, and all those guys have taken their preparation and their expectation and their abilities to another level. Offense struggled, obviously, last year, inconsistent, good at times, not good at times, but most of those guys returned from that unit, and they've all worked extremely hard they want to redeem last year's performance, and they want to match the defense and be equally as productive. And so I think the attitude's been great, the work ethic's been great, tremendous preparation from January all the way till now. Now it's, as you said, tonight starts that journey. It's a long, long season, and but I think our guys are equipped for it, and I'm really excited about this team.
And a great first test against those Ichabods of Washburn, a terrific team from the MIAA. We'll talk about tonight's game specifically a little bit later on, but when we come back, we'll look back at the 2009 season, a season of firsts in many ways, and we'll also look at this 2010 ACU Wildcat team. You're watching The Chris Thompson Show.
Here at the ACU Campus Store, you'll find all the supplies you need for class, from pens and pencils, binders, and even art supplies. We also have the latest and greatest in Macs and iPads. Don't forget to check out our large selection of iPhone and iPod cases. Plus, we carry the largest selection of Champion and Under Armour apparel in Abilene. So come by, support your Wildcats, and get your purple on.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. 2009 was a season of firsts for ACU. The first time ever the team had achieved a #1 ranking in the national rankings. First time ever a home game on national television. Brandon Tripp looks back at the 2009 campaign, which culminated with a 4th straight trip to the NCAA playoffs.
The Wildcats began the 2009 season against the same opponents they played at the beginning of the 2008 season, the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats. ACU beat the Bearcats 19-15 in the first nationally televised home game for the Wildcats behind an incredible defensive performance and this Clark Harrell to Ben Gibbs touchdown. In Week 2, ACU was home once again, this time playing host to the visiting Skyhawks from Fort Lewis. The defense dominated again as ACU ran its regular season win streak to 12 games in the 58-10 rout of the Skyhawks. Next up for the Wildcats, a trip to the historic Cotton Bowl to play Texas A&M Commerce in the Harvey Martin Classic, ACU's first ever trip to the hallowed stadium. And befitting the venue, Drew Cuffey clinched the game for the Wildcats in what will surely go down as one of the greatest plays in ACU history with his 81-yard walk-off interception return in overtime to give the Wildcats the 20-14 victory. ACU is back home after a week on the road, squaring off with the LSC North visiting Southeastern Savage Storm. ACU looked in control from the beginning, jumping out to a 28-0 lead, and they never looked back. Then the Greyhounds from eastern New Mexico came to town, boasting the most prolific passing offense in the nation with over 400 yards per game. But the ACU defense had an answer, holding Eastern to just 300 offensive yards passing and 3 offensive touchdowns. Justin Johnson's kickoff return for a touchdown at the beginning of the second half helped spark an ACU comeback for the 44-33 victory. It was back on the road for the Wildcats, traveling to East Central, and much as they did in 2008, they did in 2009, dominating East Central 43-6 in Mitchell Gale's first ever NCAA collegiate start. ACU traveled to Angelo State the next week to take on the number 23 Rams, and in dominating fashion, the Wildcats improved to 7-0 on their season and 17 straight regular season wins, while at the same time spoiling their rivals' homecoming. The Wildcats grabbed the #1 national ranking for the first time ever in Division II, heading into a homecoming showdown with longtime bitter rival West Texas A&M. But the Buffaloes were too much for the Wildcats as Keithon Fleming racked up 173 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. The Wildcats went down, ending their run at a second perfect season. It wouldn't get any easier for the struggling Wildcats, who were on the road in Week 9 to face off with Tarleton State. The Texans' dominating defense was too much, and Devin Gwynn's 71-yard punt return for a touchdown did the Wildcats in as they fell 13-6. Looking to right the ship back at home, ACU played host to Texas A&M Kingsville and quarterback Billy Garza. Despite being up 47-14 heading into the fourth quarter, the Wildcats would have to withstand a Abilene comeback in which Billy Garza went 12 for 17 and threw 2 touchdown passes. ACU did escape with the win 47-35. It came down to the regular season finale for the Wildcats to clinch a playoff berth, but Midwestern State was also in the hunt for a playoff spot and had other plans in mind. Morgan Lineberry hit 2 50-plus yard field goals for the first time in school history, but it would not be enough for the Wildcats, who fell in the regular season finale 13-15. But with a couple of helpful losses, ACU squeaked into the playoffs to make it their 4th consecutive berth to the NCAA playoffs. They also earned a rematch with Midwestern State. This time the story would be different, helped by Dennis Campbell's opening kickoff return for a touchdown and a stellar defensive performance that included 5 sacks on the LSC's most efficient passer during the regular season, Zach Eskridge. The Wildcats advanced to the second round, 24-21. But looming in the second round was a familiar foe in the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats. The Bearcats stifled ACU offense and got some help from big plays throughout the game to end ACU's season for the second straight year, 35-10.
Coach, in a lot of ways, 2009 was a tale of 2 seasons. You start out 7-0, you're on national television, you're #1 in the nation, and then the last part of the season, it looked like you were hanging on for dear life in a lot of ways because of your opponents, right?
Yeah, started the South schedule, and the South was tough, and most proud of our team. We faced some adversity there after the #1 ranking, but we're able to bounce back, had a strong game against Kingsville, and then fought into the national playoffs, and then, actually won a national playoff game against a really strong Midwestern State team, one of the best teams they've had, and didn't end the way we wanted it to in Maryville, but overall, real proud of that team and what they accomplished.
Let's look at the 2010 team that you have this year. It's a team that brings back most of its starters on offense and defense. You lose a couple of guys, though, and I'm going to mention guys like Tony Harp and Major Colbert. Major transferred in and played just one season, but what about not just what you lose on the field, but in terms of leadership from especially a guy like Tony?
Well, it's just something you can't replace, just the commitment, a four-year starter basically, and the commitment and the preparation. He just had such a high level of intensity every single day. The guy never had a bad day in 4 years, and so not only his ability being the defensive back of the year, physical ability, but just his leadership. You can't replace it, but guys like Richard Havens and Drew Cuffey will step up in that secondary. Richard's been here 4 years. Drew's a fifth-year senior. So you got that kind of leadership. Those guys have seen Tony Harp and seen what he's about, and you know, we got some new guys that we're excited about in the back end too.
Let's talk about a couple of those guys and stay in that secondary. You bring in some Division I talent, Darian Williams, for example. Tell us about your secondary.
Yeah, Darian Williams is a kid from Vernon that we recruited out of high school, and North Texas offered. He actually went up there, started as a true freshman for them. Didn't play quite as much as a sophomore and decided to make the transition here to ACU, and we're excited about him. Cameron Riley's a big kid that started out at Georgia Tech as a freshman. He's a 6'2" corner that you really look for that size and great speed, and I think he'll make an impact. And then a guy like Caleb Withrow, who redshirted last year in our program from Dallas Christian, who has done some good things in camp and will be big in the special teams game. A lot of those guys we're really excited about, and I think they'll make a great contribution as the season goes.
LB Suggs moves back from linebacker, and we have to change his initials. He went from LB back into the secondary.
Yeah, maybe DB Suggs.
DB
Suggs. But he's you know, an outside linebacker and was undersized at that position. Now he moves back to safety, and he's a playmaker. I think you'll see him all over the field. Really excited about him. And that secondary's got a lot of talent. It's just got to take a little time to come together, and they'll be tested early tonight at Washburn.
And they'll be helped, though, by an awfully good front seven. We know what you bring back in guys like Aston Whiteside, the 60-year senior Kevin Washington. Tell us about Donald Moore. I know he's turned some heads in camp. He's a D lineman.
Yeah, Donald Moore. You know, the biggest loss in that front seven was Nick Jones deciding to go straight track and try to start his quest for an Olympic trial, berth, and we support Nick. Really happy for him, but had to go out and get it. We moved Fred down to defensive end, Fred Thomsen from linebacker, and then we went out and got Donald Moore out of Tyler Junior College, who, as the season evolves, should prove to be a very explosive, solid football player. And you couple him with Marvin and Mike Jones and some of those guys in that front seven. Austin January, who's a fifth-year senior. You got the makings of a really strong front seven with all the linebackers returning. We're excited about all those guys, Courtney Lane and Bryson and Casey Carr. You can go down the list, Nate Baggs, a lot of really good football players.
Yeah, that defense led the nation for much of the year in run defense. Quickly on the other side of the ball, Zach Stewart's no longer part of the team. Mitchell Gale is your starting quarterback. One of the guys he was planning to hand off to a lot, Reggie Brown, is not on the team. A camp injury that really is going to hurt you, isn't it?
Yeah, a huge loss with Reggie. Tore his ACL, just a non-contact injury, made a cut, and it just kind of gave out. Sometimes you might have, speculate there might have been a partial tear there, and he just tore it all the way. You really don't know, but nonetheless, he's out, and Daryl Richardson will step up. Really excited about Daryl. He's grown and matured a lot as a player since last year. I think he'll have a big year. And then, Josh Morgan's got to step up. Daryl Cantu Harkless has been moved to running back. He was a good high school running back. And then we brought in Charkandrick West from Louisiana Tech signee, who's got really good speed. So all those guys will create some depth there, and we'll see how that position evolves as the season goes.
And you bring back some veteran players at wide receiver. Clyde Gates comes back for his senior season. I know Raymond Radway will be there as well. Speed to burn there at the wide receiver spot.
Good size and good speed, and then Chris Fowler and Kendrick Johnson. I think that's a much different group than it was last year.
Some great players coming back and a lot of new names to get to know as the 2010 season wears on. Well, when we come back on the Chris Thomsen Show, Brandon Tripp will introduce us to a new segment on the show, and it involves one of ACU's best defensive players. We'll also go up to the JMC newsroom for a look at the rest of what's happening in ACU sports. You're watching the Chris Thomsen Show.
Here at the ACU Campus Store, you'll find all the supplies you need for class, from pens and pencils, binders, and even art supplies. We also have the latest and greatest in Macs and iPads. Don't forget to check out our large selection of iPhone and iPod cases. Plus, we carry the largest selection of Champion and Under Armour apparel in Abilene. So come by, support your Wildcats, and get your purple on.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. It's an all-new season here on the set, and we're getting our first look at a new segment with senior linebacker Kevin Washington. Kevin will be giving us an inside look into ACU football every week this season with his all-new segment, Washington's Post.
Back here at the ACU Wildcat football team. This is the Washington Post, something we're going to try to get going a lot during the season, give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on in the football season. You know, some things you guys don't see before the games, before all the practices, you know, behind the scenes with all that kind of stuff. So this week we decided to ask the guys, you know, what happens on the first game, because there's a lot of feelings on the first game that you guys don't really see out there besides us getting jacked up to go run around and hit somebody. So the first week we can go ahead and take a look at what we feel like before the first game of the season. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll catch you in a second.
Man, first game of the season, ain't nothing like it. That feeling like just putting all the work you did over the summer, and all the grinding you did over the summer with like your teammates. You know how much you went through in the spring and in the fall and the summer, and it's just all the anxiety and excitement just kind of build up, and you just want to let it out on the first game.
Yeah, first game this weekend, ACU Wildcat versus Washburn. One word to describe the game, man, very excited, man. Senior year, everybody together. We all ready to make this happen, make the championship run in and start this weekend. So make sure everybody tuned in as you hear the Wildcats destroy Washburn.
I feel confident.
Intrigued.
Victory.
Thirsty. Focus. Anxious. 6.
Prepare for domination.
Crazy cool awesome.
Stoked. Anxious.
Confident.
Thankful.
Fierce.
Domination.
Victory.
Relentless.
You just heard from some of our guys about how we feel the very first game of the season. My word would definitely have to be nervous. Not in a bad way, but nervous because it's the first game of the season and there's so many things that we don't know. There's so many things about the other team. They could have changed something over the season. They could have changed something during the spring. So nervous and excited just because there's so much stuff that we're ready for, so many expectations. So that would be mine. That's about it. So that's the first one we have for this week's Washington's Post. Please tune in next time. We'll have something ready for you next week, something brand new. So we look forward to hearing from you and hope you look forward to seeing us.
Thanks, Kevin. Now let's head on up to the JMC Network studios to Austin and Kristen for a look at other sports going on around the ACU campus.
Welcome to the JMC Network Sportscast. I am your host, Austin Gwynn.
And I'm Kristen Goodspeed. We'll be with you throughout the year for a weekly look into ACU sports on and off the field. The soccer team will kick off its season with 2 games in Colorado. This will be a first for the Wildcats, who have never traveled to the state. The University of Colorado at Colorado Springs picked 6th in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, and Colorado State University Pueblo picked 8th, will provide a good challenge for the Wildcats. With 7 freshmen on the team, the Cats will look to the leadership of senior Courtney Wilson and sophomore Julie Coppage. One of the biggest leaders of the 2010 campaign was set to be Lindsay Womack, but she suffered a critical knee injury that will keep her off the field this season. Coach Wilson has said high school standouts Andrea Carpenter and JC Ferreira will both see time early in the season.
Another ACU team will be making that long drive up to the Rockies this week. The volleyball girls start their year in a tournament at the Colorado School of Mines. Their opponents are set to be Fort Lewis College, Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania, Regis College, and Mesa State College. With back-to-back successful seasons under their belts, the Cats will want to continue their winning ways in this early season tournament. Third-team All-American Shauna Hines is back to bring power to the net. Alongside her will be the preseason LSC Setter of the Year, E.J. Moranu, who has led the Cats in sets each of the last 2 seasons. ACU will play 2 games on Saturday and 2 more on Sunday.
Moving from the court to the track, the men and women's cross-country teams will be at the Texas State Invitational in San Marcos this weekend. Leading the men's side is Amos Sang, who was a part of the 2007 National Championship team. Last year, Sang finished 4th at Nationals, making him an All-American.
The women will be hoping to rebound from a disappointing 2009 season. Freshman Chloe Susette was the lone bright spot last year, earning all-conference honors after placing 6th at the LSC Championship meet. ACU track and field coach Roosevelt Lofton will coach both the men's and women's teams. Last year, LSC Coach of the Year Sam Burrows left for North Texas in the offseason, leaving ACU without a coach. Lofton will serve as the interim coach until a replacement can be found.
For the JMC Network, I'm Kristen Goodspeed.
And I'm Austin Gwynn. May the sports be with you.
As we welcome you back to the Chris Thomsen Show, take a look at the new look Lone Star Conference. Now 7 teams in the north and the southeastern New Mexico goes north, and a new team coach comes into the Lone Star Conference, Incarnate Word, into our South Division.
Yeah, we got to have the LSC Media Day down on their campus. What a great campus, a great city to recruit to, and I think Incarnate Word will make an immediate splash and just continue to get better and better. Coach Santiago's got great experience at the college level, and I expect their program to be a contender really quick. And you know, Eastern New Mexico's always tough. We still get to play them even though they're moving to the north. So Lone Star Conference, just an extremely tough conference top to bottom.
We take a look at the new changes in the LSC. Talk about the LSC South. It's a really strong conference. You had 4 playoff teams last year. West Texas went to the Konza Bowl and won against Nebraska-Omaha. Just talk about the overall competition in the LSC South.
Yeah, just 5 postseason teams. I mean, pretty much speaks for itself. I don't think anybody else had that in the country, and had the opportunity to coach in the Gulf South Conference, and obviously had an opportunity to play against the MIAA quite a bit, and those are 2 great conferences as well. And the Lone Star stacks up equal or better than all those conferences, and it's just tough week to week. You better be ready to play.
And you better be ready to play right away. Some great matchups in the first week of the season. West Texas A&M on the road at Grand Valley State. Texas A&M Kingsville goes to Northwest Missouri State, a team against whom ACU has opened the last couple of seasons. Coach, you open up this year against Washburn. First time that these 2 schools have ever played. The game kicks off tonight at 6 o'clock. The Ichabods from Topeka, Kansas, and they have gotten a head start on ACU because they played last week. They won 34-29 over a team from the RMAC, the Colorado School of the Mines. 611 yards of total offense from a very veteran squad that the Ichabods throw out under Craig Schurig, their head coach.
Yeah, they really do. Starts with their quarterback and their tailback. Those guys are, the quarterback was 21 of 28. The tailback had over 200 yards, and you know, their offensive line returns 4 of the 5 starters. So I think they expected to have that kind of offensive production right away. Colorado School of the Mines are a really good team, 8-3 team last year. And, you know, coming out of the RMAC, they could very well be in the playoffs this year. And so, and Washburn won a really tough game, hard-fought game, showed the character that we know they have coming back. Didn't have a great first half, but got it together in the second half and had a great win.
Washburn won despite 5 turnovers. Coach, just talk about, Grant just mentioned it, the 611 yards of offense. Talk about what that means, that they can still produce 611 yards despite turning the ball over.
Well, just all those veteran players that they return, and you know, their quarterback was a sophomore last year and had a big year. I think you can see right away he's built on that, and the tailback's an explosive player. And anytime you got that many returning starters on the O-line, they know what they're doing. They're big physical guys, and doesn't surprise me at all. You know, surprised me that they turned it over a little bit. Probably surprised them too, but to their credit, showing great character, coming back and winning the game.
Let's talk about matchups specifically, and let's begin with the quarterback position. Mitchell Gale gets the start in tonight's game. What do you expect out of Mitchell, and what kind of defense will he be facing?
Well, we just talked a little bit about Washburn's quarterback, who made a big stride as a sophomore last year. I expect Mitchell to, you know, from what I've seen in the spring and all the way through training camp, Mitchell's gotten a lot better feel for the offense. His footwork has improved, which has allowed his accuracy to improve. And but you know, he's facing one of the best defenses in the country. Those guys have, I think, 7 or 8 returning starters on the defensive side, and most importantly, their secondary is intact. So that'll be a big challenge for Mitchell in terms of accuracy and knowing where to go for the football. A huge challenge for him right out of the gate. But he's no stranger to that. He Northwest Missouri and Midwestern in his last 2 games, so he knows what tough defenses look like. And the key thing is everybody else around him's got to do their job. Our O-line's got to play well. Daryl's got to have a big game running the football, and then our receivers have to help him out. So we expect a big game from Mitchell.
Pierre Desir, a cornerback for Washburn is an All-America candidate, preseason All-America, 7 interceptions, I believe, last year. He'll be a guy that you have to watch out for.
Yeah,
Mitchell, certainly, in particular.
Yeah, just a sophomore, but a 6'2" guy, that guy ideally that you want at the NFL level, the college level. Everybody's looking for a 6'2" guy who can cover, and he's that. And they got him right out of high school. He's done a tremendous job, and he's already on NFL teams' radar. So you got to watch for him. He'll take it the other way if you don't watch out.
Final thing as we wrap up here, Coach, 11 games on the schedule, 6 road trips. I think I counted up nearly 5,000 miles those 2 buses you'll take will log this year on the road. You said a couple of years ago that opening trip up to Maryville, Missouri, which will be not unlike this trip that you're on right now, what could that mean for a team in terms of chemistry?
Well, you know, people talk about the challenges of playing on the road. The real challenge of playing on the road is home crowd. If it's noisy, if it's too loud, and a place like Northwest Missouri is loud. We've been there. A place like West Texas, when there's 20,000 there, that's a loud. You have to battle the crowd noise in your communication with your players. But if that's not a factor, there's really no. I mean, playing on the road is good. I mean, you get away, you get a chance, especially on these long trips, for your team to be around each other. You develop some chemistry. Especially if you got the right people on the bus and they understand that, you know, you're spending a lot of time around each other. Let's get along. Let's develop that chemistry in a positive way. That can be a huge advantage for you.
Great test tonight against those Washburn Ichabods. Kickoff at 6 o'clock. 5:45 pregame show on our new radio home in the Abilene area, Mix 92.5 FM. For Brandon Tripp and the coach Chris Thomsen, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Chris Thomsen Show. We'll see you next week.